Welcome everyone to the Blockchain Ireland Summit 2025 on-site podcast, live here from Trinity Business School. My name is Sebastian Grube and I am the co-chair of the Events and Communications Working Group at Blockchain Ireland. And this podcast is brought to you by Provenance. Our guest for today is Jón Egilsson, co-founder of Monerium and the former chairperson of the supervisory board of the Central Bank of Iceland. Pleasure to have you here, Jón.
Thank you. Great to be here.
Just jump right in with the first question. What brought you to Blockchain Ireland Summit 2025 and why come to Ireland now?
Well, I've been working with King's College in London, and some of the members of King's College are working quite heavily with the Irish Central Bank. And this was an opportunity that came up, and I said, great, why not? Also because Ireland is part of the EU, and MiCA is here. So I wanted to also understand better, what's happening here in terms of, blockchain activity and platforms.
Amazing. What are you hoping to get out of the conference? Let me ask that. What's your expectation for today?
Very often it's about new ideas. It's about networking, and, just understand where things are going. What is the overall, shall we say, direction of the industry.
Yeah, and I hope you get a very good overview of the Irish ecosystem as well.
Absolutely, yeah.
It's been kind of a tumultuous year for crypto and blockchain. What is your focus with Monerium for 2025? What are some initiatives that you're working on? What are your goals for this year?
Yeah, so this year is a pivotal year in many sense, because what we're seeing is that institutional both investors and companies are now realizing that this is not a sideshow, and if you look at the numbers, then we see that the total transactions of stablecoins over the last 12 months was $33.5 trillion. And if you compare that to Visa, then that's more than double of Visa, and it's more than Visa and MasterCard together. So, and we see Stripe, they're entering the game. We see even Meta, Facebook, considering entering the game. So we see bank consortium, and we see this incredible development in the US with regards to regulation, which is quite progressive. So there is a lot of things going on this year. And suddenly it seems to be that, people are starting not only to realize the potential, but we see the volumes and the sizes of, the market cap and so on. So I think, there is a big change happening, and Monerium just has to be a part of that. We have been focusing on the euro. The euro has been a relatively small proportion of the stablecoin market in general, but it is increasing, and we have to just, make sure that, we are well positioned and can serve the market in the best way.
Yeah, and maybe tell me just a brief overview of what do you do at Monerium and what does Monerium do?
So Monerium is issuing stablecoins, focusing on the euro. We were the first company to get a license, to be licensed and authorized to do this. In the early days, it was we have always wanted to focus on mainstream businesses, but in the early days, what we saw was that regular people that were not very tech savvy, they said, "Well, this is interesting, but this is really, really hard. You have to download the crypto wallet, you have to understand private keys and public keys and so on." So what we did and introduced 1.5 years ago is that we just integrated the whole thing with the European payment system, which makes it so easy to, interact with either regular banks or in Web3. And that has basically caused explosion in the utility of the Monerium EURI, because now you basically have a bank account which is applicable in both TradFi and DeFi. And you can, move back and forth. We have seen exponential growth. We have about 5 billion euros that have transacted now on chain over this short period. And this is completely different from what we have seen in the last few years.
Yeah, amazing. Thank you for that overview. Brings me to my next question quite nicely. Maybe what do you see is where's the real world traction for blockchain technology? And at this stage, what is still hype?
Yeah. So the real world traction now is basically outside of Europe and outside of the US. And what is it? It's basically people that don't have that want to have access to the US dollar, but they don't have access to US dollar bank accounts. So stablecoins for them in US dollars, they basically create the opportunity to hold US dollars as an alternative to maybe their more volatile and fragile currencies. So this is the big use case right now, and that's just starting. But what we're seeing now is that we are seeing large institutional players like BlackRock, Fidelity, and all kinds of real-world asset players offering, for example, money market funds that are being tokenized. So that is what is happening, I believe, the next 12 months. We're going to see more and more of that. So you're going to combine stablecoin issuance and yield-bearing assets such as tokenized money market funds. We see more and more companies that want to streamline their operation, and in a way to do that, you want to, for example, settle in stablecoins because it's easier, it's open, it's permissionless. So it's infiltrating in every corner of the economy, basically. That's what we're seeing.
Yeah. Then maybe let me ask you this question. How do you see this kind of traction and real world use case penetrate into the US or Europe potentially? Is this through the institutional investors, through those routes of making the money market funds? Is there different entryways you see?
Yeah, I think it's there are different lines, shall we say. So we will see more and more tokenized funds being offered. And then we're seeing wallets that are really quite efficient, quite slick, and they are providing services like FX, cross-border payments, which is basically making use of the best exchange rates and whatnot. And the user experience is really hard. It's going to be really hard for banks, I believe, to compete with it because it's open. And you are not confined to any one app. If you don't like that wallet, you just go to another wallet, and you don't need to. It's no issue, of changing, where you hold your assets and so on. So I think that is important. It's important to see that the big card companies like Visa and MasterCard, they are now offering services in. MasterCard was announcing with MoonPay and Iron the other day that they're offering. They are gonna offer this ability to basically connect a MasterCard with a crypto wallet in more than 100 countries. Basically meaning that you are not confined with your crypto assets. You can spend it wherever. That is gonna continue to develop. The merchants at one stage they will say, well, maybe we can save some money not using cards, right? Because you don't really need that. But you need it if the merchant is, if that's the only way that the merchant is accepting payments. But technically, you don't need it. So that will play out in maybe 5 or 10 years that we get rid of that. It's just gonna be in the background. We don't notice it. It's gonna be just more efficient. For example, I use my crypto wallet as my bank. I don't need, I can bank without banks, which is important. I can, I get my salaries into my wallet. I can spend it. I can do whatever. I have a son in the US. When he needs money, I can send it to him. He needs US dollars. I get paid in euros. I exchange it at the best rate. The transaction cost is about fraction of a cent. So it's pretty good. But what we will see increased competition among wallet providers and increased and better utility or user interfaces and features. So I think in the end of the day, the consumer is gonna benefit a whole lot.
Yes.
It's really exciting, and then as this is playing out, then the role of traditional bank is gonna diminish, and that has consequences, and some challenges. But in my mind, that's all solvable. And so I think that, the focus of the regulators and the policymakers is going to be more focused on, okay, so how do we deal with this new reality instead of trying to, shall we say, direct it in some way, that, is not going to be sustainable.
Yeah. And that leads me nicely to my last question. If we're having this conversation again next year on the shorter term, what do you hope will have changed?
Well, I think in August this year, we will have a new legislation in the US.
Mm-hmm.
That legislation might be fundamental and give guidance to the rest of the world, including the EU, Europe. So what I suspect will happen is that many jurisdictions around the world, they will say, okay, so this is what is done in the US. It seems to be, and I'm hoping that it's going to be a progressive result. And then they will adjust their current legislation, and those that have not built one, they will, take aim at what is happening there. And so I think there will be a lot of activity on that front next year.
Lots to look forward to.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Jón, for joining us for this podcast. Thank you so much for listening.
Thank you.
It's a pleasure.